Good morning and welcome everybody to today's drop-in session. For those of you who haven't seen me before, you might have, but just in case you haven't, my name is Gillian Askew and I am one of the founders of Go for Growth. Go for Growth is an organisation that's supporting North Yorkshire County Council in the procurement process for the approved provider list for adult social care. We are a fully funded service in that any of the support that we give to providers during and outside of this process is all free of charge. It's paid for by North Yorkshire County Council. I am just going to wait a couple of seconds to let other attendees join us. We have got a few people registered for this morning's session, and I have got a few updates that I want to go through with you, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. Today is our last session ahead of this round of the submissions closing, which is tomorrow at 12 p.m. So just to let you know that the session is being recorded, so it will be, as always, pushed out later today on our Go for Growth LinkedIn page and also on our Facebook page. It will also be emailed to everybody that's registered for the session this morning. So thank you again for taking some time out. I know we've had lots of one-to-ones and lots of questions through from providers, and I'm just looking at the current clarification questions. And there are 244 clarification questions. So it's been a really comprehensive Q&A process throughout the procurement. So before I open for questions, I will just cover a few things that have been added to the clarification question process or that we have been asked over the last week or so. Just to note that clarifications have closed. They closed on the 15th. However, I did notice on this last issue of the clarification questions through your tender that North Yorkshire County Council had answered a question that came in after the clarification period closed. So they are trying in North Yorkshire to answer whatever they can as they go. Morning, Lauren. Welcome, by the way. You all right?
Morning.
Morning. So,
all good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So just some questions to cover that are on the clarification questions. One of the pieces of advice that I would always give, if you have a question in relation to the the procurement process, you can go look at clarification questions. That should be a really useful first port of call for you. As you know, Go for Growth is covering process questions. The things that we can't answer on are technical questions, service specific, delivery related questions, and pricing related questions. We did run a drop-in session in relation to quality section and the pricing sections of volume 5 and appendix 2. And we do have YouTube videos. Lauren, if I can ask you to pop the links to Hannah's overview of the pricing and Tim's overview of the quality questions into the chat and also into the email after, that would be great. So if you have got any questions today that are pricing related, we'll get this video to you in terms of what North Yorkshire County Council are asking for, but we won't be able to take any pricing questions on this session today. So let me cover some quick updates before I open up to the floor. So one of the common questions we're getting quite often is around the approved provider list reopening and legacy terms and conditions. So one question is, when is the framework open again for new providers? So effectively, the approved provider list stays open for the duration. And what will happen is, from the start date, which is the 1st of November, effectively every 12 weeks or 3 months ish kind of period, there will be a re-evaluation. So you can submit at any time. What will be broken down by North Yorkshire is when those evaluation points are. So, but that is, there is more information in volume 1 on it, but that is going to be every 3 months. And that was answered on line 214 in the clarification questions. And the exact wording is, the APL will be open for the duration. There will be refresh points every 3 months. See volume 1 for more information. There was also a question on sustainability process, which is on line 215 of the clarification question. So does the sustainability process have to be returned with other documents, or only if they're applying for additional funds? And the answer was the sustainability process is for information only and does not have to be returned with the other documents. It may be helpful for everyone if you haven't seen it. On page 4 of volume 5, which is the application form itself, there is a table that details the forms that you do need to submit. So volume 5, you need to submit the insurance form, the supplier setup form, 2 years accounts, and appendix 2 pricing. So there are 5 things that you would need to submit with your submission if you haven't already, but that is clearly laid out on page 4 of volume 5, the application form. There was also a question in terms of clarity around references. So can we clarify that the council requires only 1 reference per lot for a relevant contract with the local authority? And the answer that North Yorkshire gave was they only require 1 contract example regardless of the number of lots. So the same contact details can be used if a provider delivers a number of contracts to the same authority. So that question with references has come up a number of times as well. So hopefully that will help. And in terms of the application form, there was a question on line 223 of the clarification question. So on page 24 of the application form, would you just like us to complete the form based on what we currently deliver? Do you want us to include what we want to bid for as well? If a provider doesn't deliver community-based support services, for example, in North Yorkshire currently, can you advise on how the form on page 24 should be filled in? And what they've answered is that the bid should be based on the services that you intend to provide under the new approved provider list. And again, you can read that verbatim at line 223 of the clarification questions. There was a question then that we have actually talked to, Lauren and I, a number of people who are either bidding this way for the first time. And when I say bidding, this isn't win or lose, this is just about being accepted to the approved provider list. But often this digital process can be new to people, either because it was a paper-based process the last time, or actually you're new into the organisation. And there was a question around filtering for North Yorkshire. And that's around being an EU supplier, the Your Tender system. And effectively, we have a YouTube video which shows how to express interest in an opportunity. And so, Lauren, if you would also, if you don't mind, pasting the expression of interest video or the registration video, or both actually, it will show you how to choose North Yorkshire. So the question was, I've just watched the YouTube video and it says to filter for North Yorkshire, but this particular person couldn't find the filter. So if we post that video, if anyone is struggling with that kind of thing, then that should hopefully help. If not, we do have our one-to-one sessions, and I'll go through our contact details before we finish. If you're struggling actually to find the opportunity still, please give Go for Growth a shout, either Lauren or I, and we'll help you find all of the things that you need. And then there was a number of applications. So at line 231 on the clarification questions, somebody had asked, could you advise if we need to submit 2 separate applications? So if they were wanting to apply for more than 1 approved provider list, did they have to submit an application per the provider list that they wanted to submit? And North Yorkshire County Council have confirmed that you only need to submit 1 application. So you don't need to do separate applications, even if you're applying for multiple approved provider lists. And that was really everything to do with process that I wanted to cover on today's session. Thank you, Lauren, for doing that, for putting those links on the chat. We have had a question around where do we find our DUNS number? So actually, there is in one of the videos, if Lauren has already posted that one, the registration, it does show you in that video where to find your DUNS number.
Sorry, I've already got the link ready. I'm just going to respond to Sean's question with the link to the DUNS website to look up his number, okay?
Okay, no problem, thank you. So yes, we can help you find your DUNS number, Sean. That's not a problem at all. It is a pretty quick process, and your DUNS number then gets emailed over to you. DUNS is basically Dun and Bradstreet. So if you ever are looking for it in the future, if you Google how do I find my DUNS number, that will also tell you or take you to the Dun and Bradstreet website. But we've got a link to show you how to do that Lauren's currently posting. So hopefully that will help. And actually, that is it in terms of updates from me. Please do feel free to ask any questions that you might have. You can pop them either in the chat functionality or the Q&A functionality. If you're using the chat, if you want to make sure that you've either ticked it to host and panelists, and that would mean myself and Lauren can see what you've popped in there, or to everyone. So just make sure that you've checked the right, whether it's everyone or hosts and panelists. Perfect. Do feel free to come forward with any questions. If, of course, there aren't any and I've answered them in the process of the updates, that's fine. We won't keep everyone sitting here until 11:15. If there are questions that you think of outside of this session, we don't have any more drop-in sessions planned, and our one-to-one sessions do close for North Yorkshire tomorrow as the procurement process closes itself. I can see that we've got a participant with a raised hand, but let me just see. I think, Jane, you have a raised hand. Do you want to pop your question into the Q&A, or do you want to ask it verbally, Jane? Let me, Jane, I've opened it up for you to be able to talk if you want to ask your question.
Hi there, sorry, the chat is disabled for me.
Ah, that's really weird. I don't know why. So feel free to fire away.
Is this the business plan question? Is it a proper business plan, or is it our business continuity plan, or is it any plan?
So where is that being asked, Jane?
I have to submit it. We have to submit a business plan, it says.
Right, okay. Tell me whereabouts on the application form it asks for that.
It's on the checklist of things you have to submit.
Right, let me just go to that checklist quickly. So that's on page 4 of volume 5, that checklist.
Page 4 of volume 5, is it?
Yeah, so the document checklist on page 4 of volume 5 says the documents which must be returned are volume 5 application form, your audited accounts, the insurance form, which is appendix 1, pricing, which is appendix 2, and the supplier setup form, which is appendix 3.
It's on the final draft. Which form's that one? That form.
Let me have a see if I can find it. I can't hear you anymore, Jane, I'm afraid.
There, is that better?
That's better, I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the Health and Adult Services document.
Okay, let me find that, 1 second. What's the document actually called, Jane? Is it appendix something or volume something? Oh, you've gone again, Jane. Sorry, I can't hear you. It looks like you've muted. Oh, no, you're there.
I don't know what's happening. It's the North Yorkshire County Council Health and Adult Services, and the title is Provider Sustainability Policy and Procedure. And that has a checklist at the back of it, and that says business plan.
Right, okay. So it's the NYCC Provider Sustainability Policy and Procedure, Appendix 7.
Yes.
Okay, let me have a look. So what they've confirmed in the clarification question, so that was one of the ones I think I've just covered. So the sustainability process is for information only and does not have to be returned with other documents.
All right, okay,
That's on line 215 in the clarification questions.
All right. Where do I find the clarification questions?
So in your tender, where you've got access documents, above it, you'll see my response, contracts, messaging and audit trail.
Yeah.
If you click in messaging, you'll see the top, there's lots of clarification questions. The top one is the most recent one. If you click on clarification questions, it's 1945922. And then you'll see an Excel spreadsheet that you can click on. If you click on that, that will give you the Excel spreadsheet with all 240 odd clarification questions that have been asked and answered.
Thank you.
No problem, no worries. Thank you. I also can see, I'm just going to mute you again, Jane, if that's okay. And I can see that you have your hand up also. So let me lower your hand. Anne, would you also like to ask your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Yeah, just to clarify on the, and I can't remember which page it is now. So, but Jane and I were speaking this morning about the breakdown of the pricings. If we accept, I know you aren't taking specific questions on pricings, but if we accept the NYCC rate, do we still have to put up the breakdown on?
Yeah, I genuinely don't know the answer to that, Anne, and would not want to guess for fear of misinforming you. But one of the videos that Lauren has posted is Hannah talking through that Appendix 2, how to complete it. So it's 17 minutes, so it's not a huge amount to watch through, but hopefully the answer to your question is in there.
Fabulous, thank you.
All right, no problem.
I will just add as well, I do believe I've also seen this in a clarification question stating that they do need to see the breakdown, but whilst we're on here, I'll be having a look through and just see if I can find that. If not, I would.
So I think there were two and I got confused reading. One said, yes, you definitely do. And the other one said, no, not if you're accepting. Well, that's how I read it, but I might be completely insane.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's worth having a look at that video and see if Hannah covers it specifically. I mean, I know the deadline is tomorrow, so it's really, really unlikely that they would answer a clarification question, but it doesn't mean that you can't ask it. So if you wanted to still put that clarification question into North Yorkshire, I know they're trying hard to come back on everything before the 22nd. So no guarantees, but they might be able to answer it for you in time.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Are there any other questions that we can answer from anyone today?
There are 2 questions in the Q&A function.
Okay, so I can see a question that says, asks re-registration. Is this the CQC registration in part 1? So let's have a look. I imagine it is. So let me just have a quick look though. So, and I think you're looking, Sam, at, if applicable, is your organisation registered with the appropriate professional or trade registers in the member state where it's established? So if you are delivering regulated care and you require the Care Quality Commission registration, then your answer would be yes. If you are delivering unregulated care that doesn't require the CQC registration, then you would tick no or not applicable. So determined by what you're actually delivering and what you're applying for in the approved provider list. If you're required to be CQC registered, then that would be a yes. It would apply to the CQC registration. So Sean, in terms of the documents that you can submit in terms of the financials, in section 4.1 of volume 5, it does tell you what else you can submit. So there are options. So either 2 years audited accounts is one option, or there is an option to deliver a statement of turnover, profit and loss account, income statement, balance sheet, statement of financial position and statement of cash flow for the most recent year of trading, a statement of cash flow forecast for the current year and a bank letter outlining the current cash and credit position, or C, which is alternative means of demonstrating financial status if any of the above not available. For example, a forecast of turnover for the current year and a statement of funding provided by the owners and or the bank, charity accruals, accounts, or an alternative means of demonstrating financial status. So if your financial viability statement would suffice and fits into one of those, potentially C, then the answer is yes. But have a look at section 4.1. It's on page 16. and just work through which of those is most relevant to you, and that should hopefully get you through that section of it, if that is helpful. Are there any other questions that we can answer at this point? Hopefully running through those questions has been of some use for you. If you do have any further questions like the ones we've just answered today, our contact details, I will just pop them in the chat for everybody. You can email myself or Lauren. So that's my email address, and I'll pop Lauren's in as well. It's easy to work it out. We are just also at goforgrowth.co.uk. Do feel free to drop us an email if you do have any further questions before the submission date tomorrow. And of course, if you're not submitting tomorrow, you will be able to submit approximately 12 weeks after the start of the approved provider list, which is planned for the 1st of November. And then, so your submission can go in at any time, and the evaluation will take place 12 weeks on average every 12 weeks after the 1st of November. So if you've got any questions beyond that time, do feel free to email us. We won't be running drop-in sessions after this one, but we are still around to help. So we're not disappearing off the face of the earth. You can get in touch with us if you need to. Thank you everybody for attending today. If there is anything else, give us a shout, and have a great Thursday, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.